Morning all. Welcome to Migrating to ArcGIS Experience Builder. So today's webinar, we're going to go through migrating to ArcGIS Enterprise Builder. So thank you for joining us this morning. So today's presentators, we've got Jessica Houston from the Technical Solutions Consultant team, and myself, Andrew Wilson, the GIS Technical Support Lead here at Eagle. Jess, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yep. Like Andrew said, I work at Technical Solutions as a Technical Solutions Consultant in the Wellington office at Eagle Technology. And my role is usually to provide demonstrations and create custom solutions pairing different Esri technology applications together for clients. And that's me.
Perfect, thanks, Jess. So today's topic. So we've got a wee bit to cover today, but this is what the agenda is going to look at. So we're going to look at why modernize your Web AppBuilder apps. So why do we need to do this? What Experience Builder can do, how we can modernize your apps, and what more can you do with Experience Builder? And we'll also look at a wee bit what's next. And hopefully today we're also going to share some what we think are some key resources and information for you guys. So we do encourage you to ask us questions throughout. So you should see somewhere up here a wee Q&A button. So please, while giving this webinar, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to go and ask and type out a message there, and we'll look to answer them at the end of the webinar. Perfect. So we'll jump into it. So why modernize your web app? Why do we need to modernize your Web AppBuilder apps? We're going to take a wee quick review of what Web AppBuilder is, and there are some challenges with Web AppBuilder. We know, for example, it's hard to edit features on mobile, so it's not really mobile responsive. Widgets interactions are limited, so we don't have, there's lots of widgets, but there's no connected workflow there. We're limited with the layout, so we can't really modify the layout, and the flexibility there now isn't quite there now. One of the key aspects is that we can't take the new mapping capability. So Web AppBuilder is built on that version 3 of the ArcGIS API for JavaScript. So on that older technology, whereas the new map viewer and Experience Builder is built on that version 4. So it enables us to have that newer mapping capability that we're starting to see in ArcGIS Online. Also, 2D and 3D apps are separate. We're starting to see more and more 3D applications come out, especially with the LiDAR capture of the country, and the use of that 3D elevation data is becoming quite key and useful in their applications. So we're having to create separate applications for that. And the other risky part of it is the no draft changes. So when you make an edit to a Web AppBuilder, it's live. However, Web AppBuilder has had some great strengths over the years. It's empowered by 70+ widgets. We can use URL parameters to set our initial state of the application. Accessibility as well, it's been used quite widely. And the best thing probably is the community. People have been able to use and learn off other individuals, creating a good community of creating Web AppBuilder solutions. So now I'll hand it over to Jess to talk about what Experience Builder can do.
Thank you very much for that, Andrew. So, as we know, we're here to talk about Experience Builder. And to break down basically what Experience Builder is, think of it as just sort of a versatile tool for web application development. The idea is leaving the complexity of coding as optional, but not required. With its sort of intuitive interface, it's a drag and drop of elements to sort of craft your experiences in a way that allows you to integrate both your maps, your data, but also your multimedia sort of content to create a compelling narrative, whether or not you're a seasoned GIS professional or completely a novice. Experience Builder empowers you to kind of captivate audiences and streamline decision-making processes. To break it down further to its core concept, Experience Builder is about configuration. It enables us to create the exact app that we want, and we build web apps and pages by kind of exploring different design decisions with templates that are accessible and ready to use widgets. And then when we need it, then we can build custom tools. It's data-driven, so we can kind of create map-centric or non-map-centric apps. And it's built on the latest web technology and version 4 of ArcGIS API for JavaScript, which all that means is that the apps are going to look modern and they're going to perform much better. So for those of you who may not have seen Experience Builders and want to know kind of what are the possibilities, what have other people done with them, I strongly recommend going to the gallery on the product page of ArcGIS Experience Builder. If I were to switch windows here, so this is what it looks like. It has plenty of really awesome examples of exploring different potential ways that you can kind of customize Experience Builder applications for any industry and for any purpose. And I do want to give a little bit of a shout out to one that we're quite fond of with Auckland City Council. Auckland Council created this really amazing flood map application with Experience Builder. They took a lot of time designing this, and you can tell it is a really gorgeous application. And looking at just like the start of it, we see that they have a custom splash message that comes up, giving them a little bit of a warning and instructions onto how to use the app. They have an agreed to terms and conditions that they've embedded in here. And then they have this really awesome map that just helps them navigate through flood information, which is really vital information that needs to have a really good user experience so that the public is able to access really critical information about the hazard information in their area. And as we can see here, they have their map that's centric here, but they have organized their data and the places that they want their users to go to. For instance, floodplains. Clicking on that allows us to see a little pop-up with some information embedded into it. And it has a whole list of information that we want, including links to other videos. And it's a really good, just great way to sort of organize, again, their narrative and their data that they have for floods. So switching gears again. Hold on one moment. So to highlight what makes Experience Builder special, we can point to a few key features, which are really just the kind of the lessons that we've learned from Web AppBuilder. Those challenges in Web AppBuilder are going to be the strengths of Experience Builder. With mobile optimization, we can configure the app on mobile, tablet, and desktop separately with just one URL. We have flexible design, which means we can create our own blueprint instead of just trying to follow the same templates over and over again. 2D and 3D in one app is sort of the DNA of the product. And then smart widgets that talk to each other, that are connected and create a cohesive workflow. And just in general, Experience Builder is integrated with other apps. As you've seen earlier, we can kind of extend the app to include any sort of suite of apps within ArcGIS or otherwise. And we can even extend it further than that with the developer edition if we need to. So this is a builder diagram. Like Web AppBuilder, we assemble a template. We assemble our widgets, our data source, our theme, and decide on our extensibility there before we sort of create and craft our ultimate experience. For those of you who have never seen Experience Builder, I can kind of break down the interface for you. We have on the left side, basically a panel of all our individual components of our widgets, our pages, our data panel, services, or our theme. In the center is the actual canvas. So a lot of times this will be a map if you're making a map-centered sort of application, but it doesn't have to be. This is just sort of what you're seeing for the application. Then on the right panel is the configuration panel. So this is dynamic. It changes depending on what services that you have. So it's contextual. So as you click through the different widgets, as you click through different elements on your canvas, this will update so that you're always configuring the element of choice. And then lastly, the toolbar portion, that's the upper part of the window. And that's going to contain options for saving, previewing, and publishing your app. So to show you what that looks like in reality, I'm going to pull up an example of what an Experience Builder looks like. So here, as we can see, I have basically the same exact layout that I just showed you in that little diagram. On my left side here, I have all my elements. So right now I'm on the page selection, so I can control and see how everything is kind of nested together. What's on top of what are all my elements together on this application. I have a plus sign, and this is where I get to drag and drop any of those widgets, tools, maybe some text and images that I want to pull onto this map. All I have to do is drag it and drop. And then I could start writing text here. And then as we can see here on the right, the configuration panel has changed. It's changed to customize this text. And so from here, I can start playing with my fonts, my sort of character effects. I can go to style and I can control where this position of this text box is. Maybe I want to lock the width and height so that no matter what size of screen, it stays the same. Add some animations, really customize it the way I see fit. And finally, we do have our top view. So in here, I have my canvas that if I zoom out just a little bit, we can kind of see that this canvas is what I want my application to look like. But let's say I've dragged and dropped a whole bunch of widgets of things that I want to do. I have up here some buttons that I've made, filter and a near me button. But I want to see what it's actually like as I'm playing along with this, what it would look like in a preview. So all I have to do is click live view. And all that's changed now is I can kind of start to get a feel for what users will experience when they are actually using my finished app. For instance, now if I click on this button, it'll show me what it's supposed to do, which is give a little about information. But up in this toolbar, I also have the option to see what it would look like in different screen sizes. So this is really important because we've all have seen an app that probably looks good on one person's computer, and then they try to pull it up in a smaller screen size, maybe on a tablet or a phone, and it just looks an absolute mess. Things have completely rearranged. And so you can test that quite easily by going here and changing any of your resolution modes. So I change it to that one, and I can already see here that my buttons will be a little squished. So I want to fix that and make sure that in all different resolutions that everything looks exactly how I want. And I can also ensure that the layout is always locked. So these will change dynamically within these resolutions. I can also switch here, as Andrew mentioned before, we have mobile views, which is really important. And this can be automatic. As you can see here, it automatically place these in a little bit more of a logical place on the application. But it's still important to check this and to see what things would look like in all versions. And then when I'm done, I can just publish using this button up here. So on that note, I'm going to pass it back to Andrew for a little bit to talk about deployments and licensing.
Awesome, thanks, Jess. So deployments and licensing with Experience Builder. Good news is it's the same as Web AppBuilder. So we have ArcGIS Online and Enterprise editions, as well as the developer editions, which is a download and install locally. And this brings me to first interaction of the day. So what I want to do is I want to put in a wee poll that I want to see what how people are using it at the moment. So what Experience Builder deployment are you using? So you should get a wee pop-up soon on your screen, and just answer that and submit, giving you the option as well, if you still have heaps of web app builders as well. But hopefully after this webinar, you'll like to check out moving to Experience Builder. Cool. So as we've sort of seen, Experience Builder has those 3 versions. So we do have ArcGIS Online, which is incorporated as part of the ArcGIS Online package and is updated automatically with the ArcGIS Online release cycle. Heads up, I believe there is an ArcGIS Online update planned this week in the next coming days. So there hopefully will be some more functionality coming out in Experience Builder there as well. We also have enterprise versions. So from Enterprise 10.8.1, ArcGIS Experience Builder was incorporated in. Like with ArcGIS Enterprise, that's managed by your upgrade cycle. So if you're on an older version of Experience Builder, Enterprise, then your functionality will be limited to that version, which I will cover shortly. And as well as you have the developer edition. So the developer edition is installed locally, but it allows that extra functionality, so that custom tools, themes, and actions. So if you've got your phones handy, quickly go and grab and take a photo or scan that web QR code there. I will try and keep your attention, and what we'll do is we'll have a wee look at that document. So that QR code will link you to this page here, and this looks at the functionality matrix of Web AppBuilder and Experience Builder functionality. So we can see in the first panel the widget that is currently in the Web AppBuilder, what it's called in Experience Builder, and what version it's been implemented. As you can see, a lot of these widgets have been released recently, like 11.2, 11.3. So if you're still on the older versions of Enterprise, it might be a good reason to look at upgrading as well there. But this is a good place. In fact, it would be my first place to start if you're looking at creating an Experience Builder, especially if you're replicating something that you've already got on Web AppBuilder, to see what functionality is there and what widgets are available for you. Some of these other widgets here that are blank, they have different migration paths. So we can click on this link to take us to the path. So we can see, for example, for the cost analyst, if we're using that tool, we can configure this in the map viewer and add a calculated expression to a form. So there is other workarounds there as well. very good resource. Highly recommend checking it out. Sweet. So with ArcGIS Experience Builder, licensing, again, same as Web AppBuilder. So it becomes part of the Essential Apps bundle. And to get access to that bundle, the user must have a creator or a GIS professional user type to create experiences. For developer, you need an ArcGIS developer subscription. I'll now hand it over to Jess to talk about how we can modernize your applications.
Right. So when it comes to modernizing these applications, it's important that we need to know what our goals are, first off. Mainly, we want to create a consistent user interface and workflow so that our users aren't feeling like they have to learn a brand new app. But at the same time, we want that app to be better. We want the app to be great on mobile. We want it to perform better, but at the same time, not make it over complicated and keep the same workflow consistent. So to kind of show those goals in action, I'm going to give you an example of how to create a really easy transition from Web App Builder to Experience Builder for those who've never done it before. So opening up this window here, hopefully this is familiar to quite a few of you guys. I saw in the polls that it looked like quite a significant portion still use Web App Builder quite a lot, which is understandable because it's a great application. And as we can see here, this is a map for New Zealand ski fields. It's a relatively simple app. If we went to our themes, I had used the Launchpad theme, which is quite a common one. And I have chosen my map, which was of the ski fields in New Zealand. And I have these widgets that I selected here, including we have our near me, we have our filter, and we have our about information here. And so with all of these, great functional app that if I click on them, it would open up this sort of information. However, there's a couple of limitations. We don't know what this looks like on mobile. We don't know perhaps what we have not as many options, basically. That yes, we have this awesome text editor, but there's not very many options to customize, for instance, the actual box that pops up. This is automatic. There's no way to kind of edit this. And so we want to have a little bit more flexibility than what Web App Builder can offer us. But we want the user experience to be pretty much just the same. We want it to be just as simple. And so if I go to Experience Builder, to start off with, I have the ability to look at all the same templates that I used in the Web App Builder. Just by clicking on this filter here, I see the exact same ones. For instance, I see Launchpad, so I can create start from a place that makes it as similar to starting from Web App Builder as possible. Once I've opened up that tab, one moment. So the same app that I was showing earlier when I was just walking through Experience Builder is actually the Experience Builder version of the ski field app. And as we can see here, it's fairly similar in that I have my header up here. I have the same map tools of zooming in and out, which I toggled on by clicking on the map, going to my configuration panel, and just switching on the tools that I wanted there. So usually just as easy, turning on locate, zoom, home, the scale bar. But I wanted to make sure that I had those extra applications as well. So going back to Web App Builder, if we were to look at our filter function, for instance, so this function here allows me to sort through the ski fields based on some attributes, such as chair lifts. Maybe I just want to see ones with different kinds of lifts or no lifts at all. So it's a really nice little function, and I want to copy that into Experience Builder. So the easiest way to do that is to go to our little plus button, find the exact same widget in our data centric, which is filter, and then I plopped it over here in my widget controller. And if I click on this button, as you can see here, I created the exact same expressions, the chair lifts, the other lifts, no lifts. And I can choose how it looks, the layout of these different functions, depending on what I want. But I want it to be pretty similar. And I can see here that it has a little icon that it gave me as an option. But if I wanted to, I could go ahead and add my own custom images like this. And there we go. We have a nice little custom image, just like we would in Web AppBuilder. But another step that I want to add on top of what I would normally be able to do in Web AppBuilder, Web AppBuilder has some actions that you can do so that if you click on a filter, perhaps maybe it zooms into the map. We have just a little bit more functionality with that. If I go to my actions here, I can add triggers. And so I set it to be not only a zoom, but to also pan. So now if I were to go to live view, click on this filter and start playing with these filters, I'm going to move automatically throughout the map. Just by changing the different filters, things kind of adjust. Maybe I want no lifts. Again, these triggers are available for most widgets, and it just allows you to have just another extra step that makes your user experience just a little bit better. And then one last thing is that while we have similar functions, one of them is a little bit different with Web AppBuilder, but still functions the same. When it comes to the About widget, that's a pretty popular one and pretty straightforward one. But we want you to be able to customize your About information a little bit better. So instead of just a widget that you drop in and you can't really control what that card looks like, instead, what you need to do is create a button. And creating a button is just dragging and dropping, and you're customizing what this looks like. Maybe I want it to match my other one, so I'll shrink it down a little bit. I'll get rid of some text, but I will select my information icon. I can turn on advanced and change the color if I want to. But I want this button to link to something. So by setting link, I want it to link to anything that I choose. This can be a page that I created. It can be a view that I created. I actually made a little pop-up window earlier of About that I customized the text, the colors, everything that I wanted. So I'll click Window, and I had labeled that window About, so I'll click OK. And now if I go into Live View and click on that button, it opens up a window. So there's a lot more that I could show in exploring sort of the experience builder transition from Web AppBuilder. There's a lot of widgets that have transferred over with full parity, and there's a lot of differences to work through. But unfortunately, we don't have time today, but we will have resources for you to kind of dive into that later on. So in summary, start with one of the Web AppBuilder templates. That's the easiest way just to get going. And you can use Windows for the splash screen, or you can use them for the About widget. About widget is a little bit different, but ideally it's just meant so that you can customize it to your liking. So you can use text and image in card or little windows and then connect to a button. And adding widgets is really pretty simple. You can add them to widget controllers or just drag and drop them onto the map. And then connect those widgets with actions. Let those little buttons control different things in your canvas and throughout your application. And with that, I will hand it back to you once more, Andrew.
Thanks, Jess. So we sort of started to see some of the customizations that we can do there with the Experience Builder. So what we're going to touch on now is what more can you do? So mobile optimization, is that important? I'm probably going to spend the next 5 minutes talking about it because it's probably one of the more powerful options with Experience Builder that we haven't had previously. We know our customers, especially public-facing experience builders or public-facing applications, that majority of them are accessing our content from their mobile devices. So it's really key for us to use that as a massive consideration, especially when we're making public-facing applications. We saw that Experience Builder from Auckland Council that just demonstrated earlier on. That's another example where there's mobile customization being applied. So when we look at mobile customization, we have the auto versus custom mode, which I'll touch on a wee bit more in the next slide. But essentially, what we're looking at is changing the position, size, and style of our widgets that aren't going to impact our other screen sizes. So we want that usability on the different screen sizes based on a scenario. So we can do this by changing the contents of the widgets or removing widgets that affect other screen sizes. For example, you might have a desktop experience builder that you're using for an edit workflow, but you don't really want to use that editing workflow on a mobile device. So when you go to the customized mode, you might remove the editing widget from the mobile version. But we'll still only have the one experience builder. So how does it look? So when we customize our mobile layouts, we've got that auto layout where we look at that, it automatically synchronizes from the large screen resolution versus the custom, which creates a separate layout. And there's a slightly different functionality there with the pending list for other screen sizes. So in this scenario here that we've got on the left, the auto layout, we see it's been automatically applied from our large screen. And at the bottom, we've got the legend, map layers, and filter widgets applied. In reality, this is probably not making full use of our screen resolution, where we wanting to have that map as that key focus. And the legend, map layers, and filters are all squished at the bottom and don't have that sort of nice look and feel. By switching to a custom layout, it allows us to make full use of the map resolution on the screen device. We can also add a widget called the widget controller. And this enables us to collate all those widgets like the legend, map layers, and filter into a wee buttons down the bottom. And then users can interact with those buttons and get a nicer experience there. An example of this is the wee diagram to the right here. We've got the modify the layout and the style. So very important, both options are actually using the widget controller there, where they've got the layers, legend, and a table widget sitting within the widget controller. But we can also move that around. We have that flexibility to change that layout. Our 2D and 3D in one app, that's another advantage that we have with Experience Builder. So again, as previously mentioned, as 3D elevation data has been made more and more easily available to us, we're now looking at 3D applications and how does this look. And what we can do is with the map widget in Experience Builder, we can actually configure two different maps in the one widget. So a 2D map and a 3D map if we need to, and we can easily toggle between the two. And again, because I think it's so important, I'll reiterate that optimized mobile experiences. It's a fundamental, especially for that public facing. So beyond the basics now, so we also have the ability with multiple views and pages to essentially create a web page or website. So if you remember the old story map, the tab story map, where you would go through and you would have different pages and it would circulate through in a tabular format. Well, we can replicate this now easily in Experience Builder. We also have other integrations with ArcGIS apps. If you were to ask me what my favorite widget is in Experience Builder, it would have to be the survey widget. It essentially allows you full functionality, or allows you to use create surveys within Experience Builder. So you don't need to go open up Survey 123 Designer, go in, create a survey, publish that survey. You can do that all within Experience Builder, which I think is really cool. You can also connect to existing surveys that you might have and connect the data in the map to those surveys. There's also the Business Analyst infographic widget, as well as the floor filter widget for ArcGIS indoors. And we can still embed URLs and other content like dashboards, and if you wanted to, even Web AppBuilder. The last sort of item here, the generate templates. That is something else that probably sets Experience Builder apart from Web AppBuilder, is that we have the ability now to generate templates. So we can go and grab an ArcGIS Online, we can go and grab templates that other users have created, as well as in Living Atlas, but we can also create our own for our organisation. This can be very important because then you can apply your own branding, organisation branding and styles to a template, and publish that to your organisation to give users that same consistent look and feel across your applications. As well as you can also use it to generate mobile templates if you're using mobile devices as well. So this page here, there's a lot going on, but it shows the diverse way we can use Experience Builder to build our applications, whether it being 3D to web pages, the use of mobile devices. We've got such a broad range now of how we can configure these applications for the end user. So what's next? Functionality parity. So between Web AppBuilder and Experience Builder, I showed you that link before, earlier in the webinar around the matrix. There's another community page here. So again, grab your QR code, scan this. The community page, as we sort of mentioned in the intro to Web AppBuilder, the community is what builds this application. So I do highly recommend to actually go and be active in the community page on Esri. If you're looking for functionality that you, in your workflows, you don't see, I encourage you to actually post or look for similar functionality that other users have posted about in the community, and vote for it to get the functionality that you're needing in your applications. So resources. So I'll show you a few resources, but we do have additional resources. So we do have the blogs. So for the blogs, you can use them to find out what's coming up in Experience Builder, what's new, what widgets have been released. For those that are using developers, and it was good to see actually there are a few users that are have deployed ArcGIS Experience Builder in dev. So check out the documentation there. My sort of go-to is the documentation, and I highly recommend checking that out. One of the pieces of documentation, which I'll do a demo now, is looking at actions. So actions are another enhancement that's been made to Experience Builder. And we saw in Jess's last demo how we're looking at the message actions. And we can go in and see through the documentation, we can go down. Esri have actually supplied us with examples of how a target trigger data is added and a record selection. And they've actually given us an experience to look at. So for this example, I can see that the target's happened to the framework, the triggers recorder selection, and the extent's going to change. So I can actually open up this Experience Builder here and see that functionality. So it's quite handy if you're not too sure on how to configure it or the workflow. You can go in and see these examples on how it's going to look and feel. So, for example, here I can zoom into an area. I see on my right side it's filtering that list. I can then click on this list and it's going to select that record and highlight it in the map. I can also click on it, get a bit more information about that, that property there. Again, use other people's examples. If you see some cool functionality, either reach out, find out how they've done it, and learn off each other. So upcoming training. If you, again, just mentioned it before, unfortunately, we've only been able to really scratch the surface with this webinar. There's so much functionality that we can learn, especially along with the actions and how they interact with each other to build those workflows. So if you want to find out more, I also run the Building Web Apps with ArcGIS Experience Builder training course. So jump on to the Eagle website with Learn and have a look. The next course has been run on the 19th of March. There's also a June intake. So if you want to learn more, because there's heaps that we can learn, please have a look at that. There's also upcoming webinars. So as part of the GIS webinar series, we still have a few coming up. So on the 7th of March, we've got ArcGIS for everyone. Then in April, we're going to take a wee bit of a break from the webinar series as the RUCs are happening at that time. And then we'll resume in May with ArcGIS Distributed Collaboration and ArcGIS Online Security. So from Jess and I want to say thank you. Thank you for attending this course, this webinar, sorry. Jess, do you have any closing remarks you want to make?
I guess my closing remark is that I have just checked online, and about 2 hours ago, the product lead for Experience Builder has been posting the newest updates to Experience Builder, which have come out today. For instance, I just saw somebody ask in the chat about URL parameters not being available. And as of today, they are available now in Experience Builder, which is really awesome and very convenient that that has happened just right now while we are doing a webinar about Experience Builder.
Fantastic. So I think with that, we'll have a look at answering some questions. It's been good. We've seen a few questions come through. I suppose, Jess, do you want to answer those two that are there?
Yep. So like I said before, I just published the question from Astrid here about how to pass the URL parameters, but they have just released documentation on how to do that. So I've included in the chat the link to that documentation to learn how to include that in Experience Builder. And also I did publish Astrid's other question about the presentation being available after the session. Usually we just post the video recordings, and that will be available through our Eagle sites relatively shortly, hopefully by the end of the week.
Perfect. I'll just answer the question from Tom. Does anyone have experience with this migration tool, ArcGIS Web AppBuilder and Experience Builder in seconds? So the answer to that one there, Tom, is no, not specifically. I haven't seen that one. There are a couple of ways that you can do migration. So again, it's a good question because it's something that you do definitely have to be considering, especially if you're moving between ArcGIS Online and enterprise environments and potentially even development environments where the widget functionality. But you can use tools like ArcGIS Online Assistant or using the ArcGIS API, Python API to clone content across. But that specific one there, Tom, no, I haven't.
And just a question from Rachel as well about the Web App Builder being retired. So we do have a timeline now for retirement for all components of it. I'm posting the blog post that has the list of the retirements in response to that question. But essentially that the developer edition is going to retire. It retired this year in July. And the Web App Builder in Enterprise, it's considered deprecated as of now. It's going to be continue a part of the Enterprise system until the first half of 2025. And then the online version of Web App Builder is going to retire towards the end of the year in 2025, so next year.
And I believe the developer edition is being retired this year in June or July.
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Just another one from Astrid there. Is there going to be a switch to allow you to work mobile first and then desktop later? I don't believe so. With how the workflow goes with Experience Builder, it's using that large screen to customize first. But what you can do is look, if you want a mobile specific one, you could use the generate templates and generate your own mobile specific template. And that would be essentially a workaround, I suppose, to get that mobile first approach. So yeah, I would look at creating a mobile template for that workflow. Then the last question, is there a way of using smart actions / attribute actions that were in the smart editor tool? Probably need a wee bit more clarification on the workflow there. I know the batch editor tool is being released this year sometime. But yeah, currently at the moment it's only the editor tool. I would have to look at the documentation. So have a look at that Web App Builder. Jess, you go.
Yeah, last year there was a little bit of advice as to kind of workarounds with that. I can post the blog here about how to kind of get around that. There's some, because now there's form editing in ArcGIS Online that allows you to do some of those functions. And this is the advice from our product lead on how to sort of work with that.
Awesome, thank you. Right. Any more questions, please fire them through. Otherwise, we might look to finish up. Awesome. Well, thank you all very much for your time today. I hope you have learned a bit, or have are encouraged to go and try moving those web app builders across to Experience Builder. If you do have any further questions, please flick us an email, or you can reach us as well on here. Awesome. Thank you all.
Sweet. Thanks very much, guys.